Good evening and welcome to the Chaska City Council meeting for Monday, November 18th. Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Nate, will you call roll, please?
Councilmember Hatfield.
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard.
Here.
Councilmember Wong.
Here.
Councilmember Grau.
Here.
Mayor Winchell.
Here. Moves to item 4, adopting the agenda. Are there corrections or additions to the agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to adopt the agenda. Again, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us to visitor presentation. Is there anyone here that wants to speak at visitor presentation? Seeing no one, we'll move on past that. Moves to item number 6, approving the previous meeting minutes. Again, if there are no corrections or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the.
Motion by Councilmember Hubbard. Second. Second by Councilmember Grau to approve previous meeting minutes. Again, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us on to consent. Again, these are items that need approval, but not necessarily conversation, but we can if need be, if there's any questions. With that, I'll put that out there. Questions? There's one.
I was just curious,
Yeah.
on the polling locations, obviously we've used those locations for several years. I'm just curious if we continue to look for other options, or what kind of goes into making those determinations of where? Because I just think of, like, November can be cold, and so space, lines, outside, inside, those kind of conversations coming off just an election a couple weeks ago where a lot of people were staying outside in the cold. I'm just kind of curious. I mean, you kind of are dictated by
But
the
that
size
was-
of the building.
I will say that was a little different because it was one polling place.
Yeah, correct.
And I don't know that we've had issue of standing outside. I don't
We
believe.
sort of rerouted them a little different on the inside too.
Yes.
I was just gonna say,
The-
I did when it was at Clover Ridge, but that was years ago.
Yeah,
Election judges are pretty good about moving that around.
yeah, I will say that we do look at that, and actually,
This is the census year, we'll have to look at it closer next year.
we'll have to look at it closer because we have to be able to put it within the actual ward, but this used to be a polling location.
This was. a
This was
disaster.
terrible. And it was because it was on the second floor, and it was really hard for people with accessibility issues to be able to get up, and people would yell at them when they'd get in the elevator to go upstairs, saying they were butting in line. I mean, so, yeah, we do look at ones that aren't good, and what that turned into was actually moving it over to the Moravian Church because they had a much more accessible location. So, but we do have to look at that when we look at the census and we're gonna have to do some kind of rebounding in the city when the census happens, and
I think
that
that'd
typically
be a
is a
big
time
shift.
period when we look at shifting of poll places.
Yeah, and I can say, as far as, I'm not trying to discount the work that the school district did into managing their polling location, but we, in the last election, handled even more people at the community center than showed up for the referendum vote, and we did not have the line stretching out the door. So it's really about managing the site, and there's ways to manage that line so it doesn't have to occur that way, so.
I mean, I think their biggest issue is they had one place to record your vote, and that's where the line was. It wasn't the voting. And if they'd have had, say, even 3 of those, I don't think you would.
We only have one at each one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
there's,
right, we do.
Yeah, we
That's
only have one at each
Yeah.
one.
right. Of those, that's.
Yeah.
there's different strategies on how to help with the traffic flow, and I think, the city runs more elections more frequently, whereas the school district's only doing it when it's a referendum, so.
Did we ever hear a number of, did they get with the voting, how many people voted?
The
I
count.
didn't-
Yeah.
What was it? Did anybody know, percentage?
Oh, I don't know about participation percent, I guess I don't know that off the top
'Cause I don't know if that maybe caught them off guard by the percentage, sometimes that happens.
It was
too.
higher than it
It
has
was a
been.
high turnout.
Yeah, it felt high, which is good, definitely good. Yeah, I was just curious, I was just kind of curious, obviously, so that's a good point of clarification, we'll have to look at that, so that's all I have.
I got one thing that I noticed in the amending the building code ordinances on page 1 of 5, Kevin, section 2, the very first line, it says fees shall be authorized, I assume it's shall.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that's a big deal, but I just happen,
we'll make the correction on it.
yeah, I'm not worried about it, but just as we do the final copy. that-
Right.
Don't ask me
Thank
how I
you.
caught that, but.
Got your red pen out,
You're
ready to
really
go.
going through it tonight, too.
Well, I had such a hard time, I couldn't get in because
I know.
it wasn't on the.
We have to call you Bob Lindahl now. He used to find that stuff all the time.
But it kept kicking me out, I don't know, I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
took
kept
me like
kicking-
3 days and I finally finished it today when it got on the agenda,
Yep.
when I got home at 4:30. So, all right, does anyone else have anything on consent? You know what, and I'll throw it out, but the lot split, didn't we already do that for Shepherd Hill, or we just always talk about it?
We talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hadn't done it yet, though.
Okay, because it's, don't you do that before we really approve the thing, or not really, don't have?
As a part of this, that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing the lot split to make the parcel.
Okay.
And then the plat is the next item.
Okay.
Yeah, so technically the one has to happen before the other, but it's just on the same meeting.
And it also has to be recorded in that order.
So that's why that's the number one item.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I am good with my questions, and does anyone else? Not, I'd entertain a motion to approve consent.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hatfield to approve consent agenda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us to action items, 8A, ordinance 968, approve ordinance amending chapter 14, article 5, related to motorized golf carts.
Here, Councilmember, I'm gonna let Nate take this one since he's worked so hard on it. All right.
Mayor and council members, this is an item that we've been discussing, I think, over the last few months. Our current golf cart ordinance, we do allow for golf carts to obtain a license, but the ordinance was written before the town course was built. And so the ordinance reads such that license can only really be used in downtown Chaska for the purposes of handicap need. And so since the town course was built, there's folks up there who live in the neighborhoods around the town course and currently use their golf carts to access the town course and kind of navigate around the neighborhoods. And that's part of, the feel of that community or that neighborhood and section of town because of the proximity to the golf course. Recently, there's been some issues about unlicensed drivers using the golf carts, and that's created some concern. The challenge with that is the way that our ordinance is written. Our police department and community service officers don't really have a lot of leverage to do much about that because the ordinance isn't giving them, it's not up to date. And so we've been asked by the neighborhood to make an update to provide that clarification, but really with the desire being that folks who are licensed to drive can use their golf carts to get to the town course and also be able to get around, their specific neighborhoods. And so we've worked with some neighbors in that area over the course of the last couple months to design an ordinance to accomplish that, and that's what's presented for you all tonight. I think the important thing to understand is that the license would be eligible for people that are living north of the Twin Cities and Western Railroad, west of McKnight Road, and so sort of that quadrant or quarter maybe of Chaska, with the intent being that it's for folks that are living proximate to the town course. To be able to obtain a license, they need to be insured, they need to be able to have a driver's license and all that sort of thing. They need to apply for the license and pay a license fee. to be able to receive that on an annual basis. And so that would then permit folks to use it. Now, people who do have a need for using a golf cart for handicap reasons would be able to get a license to be able to use that anywhere in the community. And that's really based on, you know, the need to have that for, you know, for that purpose. So that's kind of the general outline of the ordinance. The license itself, we've designed a license and worked with the neighborhood to make sure that they feel comfortable with that. So it will be displayed on the cart so that it's easily identified by officers if they're driving around. I guess I would suggest that the approach to enforcement will really be based on, you know, if it's probably not going to be our most proactive item on the list, just to be honest, but it is something that by having that license displayed should be easier to enforce because it'll be noticeable if someone doesn't have that license displayed. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions or concerns about the ordinance. We have ran this by the neighborhood on multiple occasions and developed it with them, providing feedback, and they all now feel comfortable with the direction that this has gone.
I was gonna say, it doesn't seem like we made a lot of changes from the original one we had.
Well,
There were a couple tweaks.
I was just gonna say, I noticed the absence of the sunset and the inclement weather.
Yes.
Is that something that, yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so before what we brought forward was in the ordinance that after sunset and before sunrise, the golf carts wouldn't be able to be used, and also not in inclement weather. And that's really for safety purposes, visibility reasons. What we came to learn is that there are some golf carts that have headlights and taillights installed on them, you know, by the factory when they're purchased. And per state statute, that is something that, as long as the vehicle has those things installed, that can be an allowable thing. So one of the things that the neighborhood brought up is that, you know, they might go to the town course and then want to go to Oak 19, and they might be there after sunset, and they want to be able to get home without having concern about, you know, being in violation of the ordinance. So we changed that language to align with state statute. I think the other thing that we talked about was that before we had stronger language about really just using your golf cart to get from your home to the town course in the most direct path. Neighbors talked about the desire to be able to get, you know, for social reasons or something, you know, to go to their neighbor's house using their golf cart. Maybe they live a few homes down and they want to drive their golf cart to go do that. So the way that the ordinance is currently written, it would allow for that. So we just made, you know, that clarification. And then the other thing was concern about the design of the license itself. We do need to have on the license the name and address of the person who's holding the license, because that helps our police department be able to verify that the person is a Chaska resident and they're living in the correct location. So we worked with them to design the license so that's not visible to someone walking by.
It looks like you were able to allocate permit numbers to households.
Yeah, so each household, so once a permit
Like,
is.
there's an actual, there'll be a number assigned to
Yeah,
them,
there'll
'cause
be a
that was one
number
of the-
assigned to the permit,
Yep.
which then corresponds to the person who holds the license. But the other piece is then too that you don't need a license per driver. It'll just be for the owner, and then if a visitor comes and they want to use the golf cart, they can use it. Right.
Sure, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're treating it like it's like a standard motor vehicle. You have one registration in the car. Anyone can drive it as long as they have permission of the owner.
Very much like that, yep.
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 Nate, I noticed one other thing. It says the city council shall establish an annual fee, but it doesn't say what the fee is.
Wasn't it,
Is that in here?
well, that was prior, but maybe that was
It's-
the
it's
first
the-
go around. I want to say it was
Page
either-
4 or 5,
It was like,
under fees, but it doesn't say what that fee is. Are we supposed to be putting a fee in there, is that we're creating this?
Section 107.
Boy, I thought the fee was in there.
It's
And my
not,
computer froze.
it's not on the electronic version of it. And I don't, you know, it's kind of one of them, Do we need to do that now, or would we have to come in there and have to bring it back if we didn't do it now? Just to save time. Not that time is probably a big issue this time of year, but.
You know, we do, what I'd suggest if we don't have it now is, you'll see either our next meeting or the meeting following, we have our updated rate schedule that we do for all of our city rates. We could just include it on that.
Well, does this need to be worded to whatever the designated rate is? Should it be worded that way, that it's, that way if it goes up, you don't have to change this? every
Yeah, I was
time?
gonna say, our ordinances have gone more to saying that it's based on that year's rate schedule.
Right.
I would suggest that we have that language in there, and then each year, then we'll bring that back with all the rest of the rates to consider.
Otherwise, we gotta go through every
Yep.
ordinance. Yep.
Yep.
That's what you were doing, right? I knew
Yes,
it. I knew it. Absolutely, I knew that's what you were doing. Okay, but we do need to reword that, so we can just.
You can just
Guarantee.
approve it and direct us to
Yeah.
change that
Change that
to
language.
be based on the rate schedule.
Are we good up here with that?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions on this? I think the important thing is, it's obvious, the last meeting, we had a number of people here, we have no one here, so they're comfortable with. And thanks, Nate, for sitting down with that, with those owners and coming up to a workable solution. So I think that everyone's happy, so I think that's a win-win for everybody. I mean, we got enough that if somebody's violating, we can do something, but yet, if they're just traveling from neighbor to neighbor, they can still do that. And that's what golf communities are about, you know, I think that's part of, you know, as long as they keep it in check.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that, the mayor, that just in working with
You what?
that,
You what?
I agree with you, that,
Oh,
it's not shocking. I think that you did a great job. I did notice some of the changes in regards to the previous ordinance, and that you had addressed and highlighted, what I felt like were some of the big concerns in the community, so it was a really well, thought out, change, so that's great. And, yeah, with that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 968, approving the motorized golf courts.
all right, I have a motion by Councilmember Hubbard,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hatfield. Again, adopting ordinance 968, approving ordinance amending chapter 14, article 5, related to motorized golf carts, with the addition to the fee schedule in there. That's good with your motions?
Yes.
Okay. All right, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us on to item 8B, adopt resolution 2019-123, approve the preliminary site and building plan for Lot 2, Block 1, Shadowwood, 3rd edition.
Mayor and Councilmember, this is the property that's at the northeast corner of Pioneer Trail and Audubon Road. There's some professional buildings that are at the corner there, so Bolton Mink has a location, there's Chaska Orthodontics that's up there.
Chaska Dental, don't forget
Chaska Dental.
Get them nervous.
So a number of different professional buildings up there. The proposal in front of you tonight is the addition of a professional building at location. This is coming back with approval, recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission, and Liz is here to present it.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, members of the council, Mr. Mayor. We've got a preliminary site and building plan in front of you tonight for Lot 2, Block 1, Shadowwood 3rd, also known as the Pioneer Professional Building. So like Matt said, the site is on the northeast corner of Pioneer Trail and Audubon Road. There were 3 office lots platted as a result of this development, so we are looking at the last remaining office lot to get developed as a part of the request tonight. So it was back in 1996 that the initial approvals for this development were approved. So that included the concept plan, the rezoning, the platting, and so forth. That was done in 1996, and then in 2003 was when the final site plan for Lot 3, which is the one where Bolton and Mink offices out of, just right here, was approved and finally built. So again, we're looking at the last and final building for this development. So they are requesting a preliminary site and building plan for a new office building, which would total at 7,950 square feet. It is a one-story building in terms of height. They will be expanding the existing parking lot out there to accommodate the square footage that they're adding to the site. And just to preface, they don't have an end user identified right now. So this could be a one or even multi-tenant building at the end, but we don't have any indication of kind of who their end user is going to be at this point.
Is the end user, is it limited by the amount of parking that's available to a degree?
Well, based on the zoning that's out there right now, so only certain professional services can locate out there,
Okay.
which would also meet the parking needs as well. The site that we're looking at is about 0.91 acres in size. There is a private drive that comes off of Shadow Lane and extends north to south to provide access to both the existing parking lot for lots 1 and 2, and then the other parking lot for lot 3, block 1. So this private access will remain in place and be the main point of ingress and egress for the development. The parking lot has been built basically to the extent that it was approved for in 1996. Again, we're going to be seeing an expansion to that parking lot to accommodate what they're proposing on this last lot. And then it's also important to mention that they did put a pedestrian trail connection on the west side of this lot to connect into the trail system along Audubon Road. So we're not seeing any other major pedestrian connections as a part of this request tonight. So this is an aerial with the site plan kind of overlaid on top of it. The building is highlighted in the blue outline here, and then the parking lot that's expanding is shown on the western side of that. So the building's footprint is kind of an L-shaped building. You got kind of two separate wings there. And this was done intentionally to try to basically hug or kind of wrap around the parking so that it wouldn't be a concern for the adjacent neighbors to the north and east sides of this site. So it does help in trying to mitigate any type of headlight glare from this expanded parking lot with how they're orienting the building. In total, they're going to be they'll provide 32 parking stalls for this building, which would include the expansion and some of the existing parking lot. And then in terms of landscaping, they do meet our landscape ordinance in terms of size and quantity. They are doing a pretty well balance of overstory trees and shrubs along the perimeter of the site. It did come up as a comment during the Planning Commission to try to maximize as much overstory trees kind of on the corners that face Shadow Lane and the residences over there to provide enough vegetative buffer there. In terms of lighting, they are proposing 2 parking lot pole lightings or lighting fixtures in the new parking lot totaling at 15 feet in height. So these will be, again, screened by the building itself with the building being higher than the parking lot lights. They're also showing some wall pack lighting around the building too, totaling at 13 feet in height where it faces the parking lot, and then only 10 feet in height where it faces the residential. So in terms of foot candles and our lighting ordinance, they do meet the standards that are applied out there. And then here are a couple elevations of the proposed building. When this development went into place, there was an intention to design the buildings to be residentially sensitive since they're in a residential context. So both of the other existing buildings have a gabled roof to kind of provide more of a residential feel to those. So they're doing the same with this building, providing a gabled roof and utilizing materials that are pretty common on residential homes. So in total, at its highest point in the building, or highest point on the roof, it's measuring out at 26 feet 6 inches tall. They are using a steel board and batten siding, as well as a natural stone, to basically complement those residential materials that you typically find in neighborhoods, as well as provide oh yeah, we have some materials here if you'd like to look at them, as well as provide kind of a tone in the natural stone to bring in some of those yellow tones you find in Chaska. And then a couple other renderings just to show you a couple views from the site. It's a very appealing building. They've wrapped around the materials very well on all four sides, and wrapped the windows around as well. So there's not really a blank space in this building or on the exterior of this building. So with that, we are asking you to make a motion tonight to adopt resolution number 2019-123, which is approving the preliminary site and building plan for Lot 2, Block 1, Shadowwood 3rd, and subject to the conditions that are laid out in that resolution. I just want to point out that we did add 3 more conditions in there as a result of the Planning Commission meeting, so those are reflected in the resolution in front of you.
Okay. Questions for Liz? I mean, again, this is preliminary, so we'll see it back here before
Yes.
it becomes the final.
Right. Be one
Are
more
we
step.
looking at a spring construction,
That's their intention right now.
hopefully?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just work on the rest of it and then get it all final and move on from there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd echo, I mean, I watched the planning commission, right, and there was a good conversation about parking and kind of the needs of the parking, because if it's more medical related, tends to drive, it's within the guidelines of what we would expect, but it can be pretty full and everything like that. So, you know, I kind of echo those same visions of looking for ways, if it's completely restriping the whole parking lot to maybe maximize more people. But I think there's some general concern about, even without adding those 13 extra spots, I think is what it was.
It's, well, yeah, it's 15 extra spots.
15 extra
10
spots.
net total.
Yeah,
From-
the parking lot today itself can get pretty full, and you're now adding another building, so.
And that's kind of why I asked that, because I've been there once.
Yep, so I'd echo that, to continue to look at, and if there's a more efficient way of striping it and everything like that, because it will be unattractive to a potential person if they think that's a concern of
Right.
parking to people, and just a little bit of higher need for appointment-based versus consumer-based.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else?
And of course, I think the only other concern, I think, is just the amount of traffic, just because, fortunately, it's not a really high-use type of building because of the ordinance around what the acceptable uses are for that zoning. But, it is kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, just because in that one quarter, there's only one access in and out of that property, right? And then you
Right.
have 3 buildings that could have some peak times. I mean, it hasn't been too bad, but, it's just one of those things that, with parking also comes more traffic too.
Right.
So fortunately, it seems to be mostly 9 to 5 kind of, Monday through Friday kind of businesses, not just by the nature of the zoning. So, but, it is a little bit of a concern, but nothing I'm just expressing that because, I just want to get it out there, but nothing I would say no to at this point. But overall, I think, I do appreciate the fact that they've spent time in trying to shield that parking, because I know that light pollution can be a big issue for residents, especially when, someone pulls in and, may just park, leave their headlights on, or not even realize that, because people, these days have a lot of cars, they'll just pull in, lock their car, the headlights will automatically shut off after a minute or so, but they're already inside. Next thing you know, their headlight's still shining in someone's window. But because of the way that the building is laid out, you're not going to see that because it'll be behind the building. So it should actually help with the current situation right
Right.
now.
But in all likelihood, it wouldn't be an evening business, though.
That's what,
No.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
But-
the type of uses that are
It's
pointed
like, yeah,
out
like
there,
now.
yeah, pretty daytime.
Yeah, it does
uses.
happen. Yeah.
My one question with the parking was just the snow removal aspect of it, is that, you talked about the limitation constraints in size, is that, see that as a potential problem?
No, I don't think so. As a part of the plans that they put together, they have to show where they're gonna be doing the snow
Okay.
removal. So they've actually thought that out in terms of where it can be accommodated.
I also appreciate the fact they didn't try to push the boundaries of building the largest possible building they could build on that particular site, which is nice to preserve more green space, and that's actually I'm sure the neighbors appreciate that too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the residents have been expecting a building there, so that's no surprise. But definitely, I was pleased to see that there's some good space left there.
So this was already pre-approved, so there's no public hearing, nothing like that, we don't have to do any of that?
Nope, there was no rezoning or plating or anything that would trigger the need for
I
that.
kind of
But we
figured
still,
that, otherwise we'd have
yeah,
had some comment about it.
right.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I think there were a few residents at the planning meeting, and I think most of them talked about parking and traffic,
Yep.
which is gonna always be the concern when you have a new development or a new business in your area, so. But I think in general, the tone was pretty supportive of kind of what it looked, the concept and what it
Right.
looked like.
Okay, anything else? I know the applicant's here. Aaron, you got anything you want to say, Doc? You have to come up here if you do. You gotta come show your face. No, you gotta come up here. They won't hear you. They won't hear you at home. There's 1.2 million viewers out there, and they're not gonna hear you. Potential customers, remember.
That's right. Good evening, I'm Aaron Swingdorf. Yeah, I guess I don't have a lot to say other than if you guys have any questions. I know we covered a lot about parking, so I brought that up with the owners. We're an ownership group that owns both the dental office lot and the lot that we're going to develop. So I brought that up with them as far as how we can start looking into either adding more restriping or however that works. So, yeah,
Good. But you guys aren't moving in there then?
no, not right now at least.
That's why I was wondering if you guys were gonna move in there and do something else with that other side, or the other place that needed more room.
I'd consider it, but there's two of us, so there's a partnership in there, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I think it's great. I think it's a good-looking building for there, and like they said, I'm surprised because it seems to me you could have shifted the building, maybe a little more parking, but then you're pushing the limits of the thing, so I think that you guys have done well with it, and just look at those last things, you'd be surprised how creative these guys can come up with, to get, find you a couple extra spots sometimes, so. And, but I think it'll be a good project for up there, and a nice little addition, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other further discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Right. So move to approve, adopt resolution 2019-123, approve preliminary site and building plan for Lot 2, Block 1, Shadowwood, 3rd edition.
Second,
Motion by Councilmember Wong, second by, who was that?
me, Hatfield.
Councilmember Hatfield. The two, you guys should be split so I can tell the voices. To adopt resolution 2019-123. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Thanks for being here. We'll see you the next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moves us to item C, adopt resolution 2019-124, approve concept plan for PB Road Industrial Building.
Mayor and Councilmember, this is an item that's coming back from the Planning Commission recommending approval of the concept plan. This is the lot that's just north of the, well, it used to be the old Nordic Track office building, which is now the school district offices.
Only you and I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
I remember that.
I'm 5 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's a lot that's actually sat vacant for quite some time. For a number of years has been a parking lot, and glad to see an interest in wanting to build an industrial building here. So Liz is here to talk a little bit about the project and the next steps.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, members of the council and Mr. Mayor. We've got a concept plan proposed tonight for an industrial building off of PB Road. So the site is actually comprised of 3 parcels, as I've noted on here. The main parcel or all 3 parcels are encompassed by an existing parking lot out there that basically connects into one of the industrial building sites to the north, as well as the school building site and parking lot to the south. So you've got PV Road and Highway 41 on both sides of this site tonight. And there's also an existing access right onto PV Road that will remain as a part of this request. Also note that the owner of the 105 PV Road site just north of this is also the applicant tonight. He did purchase this site, I want to say a couple years ago or so, in hopes of redeveloping it. So he is the applicant tonight. So again, they're asking for a concept plan approval to construct a new office, warehouse, industrial building on the site. And that's meant to basically get their entitlements in place so that they can start to market the site, because they don't have any end user identified, just like the last request. Again, they're just trying to get their entitlements put together so that they can market it appropriately to whoever is interested. So the use that they're proposing is consistent with the zoning out there, which is industrial, as well as the comprehensive plans guidance for this parcel, which is also industrial. So the site itself is approximately 4 acres total between the 3 parcels that make it up. There's also an existing CenturyLink building that's on the property today. It's on kind of the northwest side of the property, which will remain as a part of this overall concept plan. There's also a significant wetland on the eastern side that kind of is sandwiched between PV Road and where the existing parking lot limits are as well. So their goal is to hopefully maintain that in most of its entirety as a part of the overall site plan.
You said they hopefully, don't they have to?
I mean, if they impact it, they have certain mitigation measures
Okay.
that they have to go through. So depending on how they kind of land with what they're proposing for realigning, it may require some mitigation measures as a part of it. As I've noted before, the existing parking lot does connect into the school site to the south. They will be terminating this connection point as a result of this concept plan to provide kind of its own separate lot and parking lot as part of the site plan that I'll show. So even though they'll be terminating that connection point, it's not going to preclude the school site to be able to get to their parking lot. That parking lot will still gain access off of PV Road from the south side that we can't see on this exhibit.
So will this use all of their building ability on this site once they build this building, or would there still be more building eligibility?
No, this will be everything.
This will be everything,
Yep.
okay, that's what I was kind of wondering.
And then.
So that,
yeah.
where they're gonna end it there, that is school property then?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Yep. So now there will be kind of a physical separation between the two, as opposed to a continuous parking lot. There's also a driveway access on the northwest portion of the site that connects into the 105 PV Road site. And again, they will also be maintaining this as a part of the concept plan. So they provided a overall site analysis, which is common with any concept plan approval, just understanding kind of traffic flow out there, where are the view sheds, and so forth. This first site analysis is talking about the access into the site and specifically truck access and how they get in and out of the site. So trucks will access the site from PV Road at that existing ingress and egress point into the site. There's a loading dock on the southern side of the building that they'll gain access to. And then it's, at this point, the intention is, in terms of exiting the site, they will kind of wrap around the building, go north on that private driveway access into 105 PV, wrap around their parking lot and exit out their ingress and egress point on PV Road. And this was done to promote more efficient and convenient truck traffic flow. If they tried to kind of turn around in this area and kind of squeeze out their parking lot, it would be very problematic and conflicting with some of the office and employee parking around the building. So since Steve Anderson owns both sites, he will be offering a cross-access easement to the site to the south so that trucks would be able to access this property for the purpose of exiting onto PB Road. So in terms of where they're laying out the building, they are kind of situating it in the center of the site, as you can see in the kind of the bold outline on this site plan. The access point, again, will remain, and again, the wetland on the east side is proposing to stay as well. There will be basically a wraparound drive on the east side that'll provide truck access to the loading dock on the south side. Employee parking lot will mainly be on the north and west sides of the building for people who work there. And then as you can see, the parking lot is capped at the southern end there. And then some water retention areas have been identified in those potential locations to meet stormwater needs, which we'll get into more detail during the preliminary submittal. But they at least have identified some potential areas for that, which they'll need to figure out during the preliminary. And then I did mention the truck movement. So they are pretty constrained with kind of the existing elements that are on the site with the wetland and with the CenturyLink building. They pretty much only had one place to really plop this building and gain enough circulation around the building as well. So in terms of kind of what they're proposing, the layout and circulation tend to make sense for this concept plan. And then here are some renderings or elevations of the proposed building. So they are proposing a two-story office warehouse building, which won't be out of character in terms of what you see kind of in the near vicinity. The school building is mainly 2 stories, but also appears to be 3 stories or have 3 stories from certain angles as well. And then the office building just to the north of them has a two-story office component attached to it. So this is not anything that will kind of stand out in terms of its relative context.
Is the thought here of this being one user or multiple users?
Probably a one user is kind of how it's set up right now. I mean, I'm sure they're still keeping their options open right now, and an end user could very well dictate kind of the layout and inside the building, but I believe their intention is for one user to occupy the building. So they're proposing for materials right now a mixture of brick, glass, metal paneling, and precast panels. They're trying to bring in some Chaska tones with the brick, and then give it itself some of its own identity with bringing in some boisterous colors like the blue. But overall, they've done a really good job of kind of balancing out the materials, highlighting kind of the main entrance point into the building, and providing enough glass around the entire building. I want to say with most industrial buildings, you see a lot of, flat precast panels, so I think they've really went above and beyond with this design to really have it stand out in a good way. So with that, we are asking you to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2019-124, which is approving the concept plan for the PV Road Industrial Building, and then based on the conditions that are listed within that resolution. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we have the applicant here as well, if you have specific questions for them.
So I have a few questions.
Sure.
So are there any prospects that they're currently marketing to right now? Or do we have any prospects lined up yet? Not yet. So this right now, so this is, at this point, it's just purely to build to be able to have, have that in hand for marketing purposes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is, I read that in the notes, but just want to confirm that. Then, one of the things that I was wondering about is like, so the truck access requires the exit through the other property that's to the north. Is there an easement set up? Because I know that right now it's the same owner, but over time that could change. So, you know, is there an easement agreement that's going to be built into the, or attached to the deeds that way? You know, that access will remain if they separate to two parties?
Yes, so they will be required to put together a cross-access easement in order for that to continue in the event that he does sell it off and gets an end user identified. So yes, that'll be required.
Okay. And the last question I have is that for the CenturyLink building that's currently on the property, because right now that's actually part of that, you know, one of those three main parcels, the largest of the three. So I assume that there's also like, you know, probably something attached to the deed that stipulates that if the property gets sold, that has to remain, because I'm
Yes.
assuming there's currently an agreement with CenturyLink,
Yes.
they have rights to that building and access and all that fun
Yep,
stuff.
there's an easement over that building
Yep.
currently,
Okay.
and that'll remain as a part of this.
Yep. Is there intent to sell this property once it's completed, or is it to be held onto as long-term?
You'd have to come up here, otherwise I can't hear it. And just if you would state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Kaplan, and I work with Mohegan Hanson, and I'm the architect for this project. And Steve's goal is to sell the project as a whole. Originally, he was going to move into it, but he outgrew that space, and so now he needs to sell it.
Okay. That's all I
Any
got.
other questions?
I was just gonna comment, I do like the look, you know, when you think of an industrial building, you think of prefab cement walls and a box to some degree, so I like the colors, I like the glass. You know, so I do think it'll look nice, because it's gonna be obviously a very visible
Very good.
stretch of town on 41 there. So I did like the fact that they took that into consideration, and the architect, you know, to kind of design it so it looked like a good, nice looking building.
Good use of land too. I mean, it's kind of an odd parcel because you already have that, you already have the drainage there, and, you know, so, you know, you can only do so much around that.
You didn't have the other parcel, you wouldn't be able to get the traffic flow, so,
Yep.
I mean, it's a lot, yeah.
Mhm.
Right, any other questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Grah to adopt Resolution 2019-124 approving concept plan for PB Road Industrial Building. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks for being here. All right, we move on to bills. Anyone have a question on a bill?
Maybe.
I count on you.
Notice I didn't.
Okay, so on, let's see, page 2, there was something for Auburn Manor that I was kind of wondering what it was, because it just, you know, typical got cut off, so it was just the Auburn Manor one that says December 2019 senior citizens something, but I was kind of wondering
Yeah,
what it was.
it's actually a contribution that the city of Chaska has made to Auburn Manor for probably 30 years towards helping to, it comes from our electric utility to help subsidize some of their electric costs during the winter. I'm not sure exactly the history of why it started or when it started, but it's been something that's been done for years and years.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, on page 5, there's an item for Civic Send, which is part of Civic Plus that, you know, we use for our main website. But I was wondering, what do we use Civic Send for? Because it sounds like, you know, it has integration to like social media and mail distribution, all this other stuff.
I don't know, Nate, if you know.
Which page I'm trying to look
This
at?
is page 5.
Yeah, this is relation to Civic Send, which is the add-on to Civic Plus.
That's what it's called, civic something?
Civic Send. It's part
The
of the.
Civic Center is actually in the
it's-
description.
Yeah, it's part of the Icon Enterprises one.
It's Icon Enterprises.
Icon Enterprises is the company, right?
Oh, that's a,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
We can find out though.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's a fair amount of money, but it's like wondering how much are we using it, or what are we doing with it? The other one was, one struck me, page 9, there's one to Debbie Backlund. It's like $1,600 for September, October TC gardening. I'm assuming it's town course.
Yep, she actually does all of the, we've contracted with her for years to do the flowers that are out at the landscaping sign and flowers that are around the property there.
Okay, so, because I was under the impression that, like, you know, the municipal services took care of all that stuff, but do we do that because it's like for a certain reason, or just one?
I think the reason it was done is, originally, is it just sort of fell out of the skill set of the people, because it's a pretty higher end type of display that they put out by the sign.
Okay.
It's something we could look at, bringing back in-house. You know, we have, I guess, different skill sets now than when we opened up the town course, but it's been one that, she's done basically all the really nice landscaping as you come into the facility.
So it's more kind of an ornamental horticulture thing rather than just like a general maintenance and
Yeah.
landscaping, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Can I help you there a little bit?
sure.
I used to work for Public Works. Could you imagine if they sent me there to take care of those flowers?
I'm sure you do
that
a
help
wonderful
you?
job.
Well, we did just say
Does
the
that help
skill
you?
set has
Yeah,
changed
skill
over
set's gotten
time.
much better over the years.
It's probably gone downhill since I left, but
So just wondering.
5 years ago.
Which page was that?
That was on page 9.
Just thought I'd help you.
That was this kind of just jumped out, so. And the last one is page 12. There's, for Prairie Technologies, there's this, it's abbreviated kind of strangely. This is, it says CH Automation Sys something, but it's not clear what it is. I'm guessing some building automation for something, but for what?
What page was that on?
Page 12,
Second one down.
yeah.
It says Tim behind it. Is it something to do for the fire station? But it wouldn't say Tim, it should say fire department, but
Yeah.
I think that's probably time.
could be
Yeah.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to check on that one too.
Yeah. That's all I've got.
Okay. Anyone else? I'd entertain a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wang,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to pay the bills. Discussion. Hearing none, Nate, will you call roll?
Yes. Councilmember Hatfield?
Yes.
Councilmember Hubbard?
Yes.
Councilmember Wong?
Yes.
Councilmember Grau?
Yes.
Mayor Winchell?
Yes. All right, I think it moves us into other business, right? Other business. Let's start with Councilmember Grau tonight.
Celebrating the interchange open, we talked about that a little bit, just throwing it out there, so it's nice to see cars going, using it, getting used to roundabouts there. One thing I will say that it will accomplish that'll be welcome to that neighborhood, it slows traffic down, which is nice, because you just can't go around roundabouts as fast as you can go down a straight hill, so hopefully it will slow down people, but yeah, it's kind of
That
nice.
is the last roundabout there, there is no more of that, right?
I think there's one
Potentially at
more.
the west of the interchange.
Yeah, I was gonna say west of the interchange, there could be,
Maybe one, maybe not, depends on how.
where you enter
Nothing
the,
toward town, though.
nothing toward town.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So that was, I just had to say that.
You know, I'll mention real quick with that, living downtown, it actually, coming from the east, I think was quicker to get off at the new interchange and come downtown than to get off at 41 where you have to go through the stoplight. So it did sort of reset my thought about how I actually access downtown from 212.
So you're just starting downtown. If you were really living downtown, you would know to get off it by Fleet Farm, coming from that
Oh.
direction. That's how it
Yeah.
works in Wesco.
I haven't quite thought that far.
It'd be interesting to see if like truck traffic and stuff ends up going that direction if they're cutting through rather than coming from 212.
I don't know, they get really set on their patterns.
Yeah,
I'd see them saying, but I could see a lot of residents
Yeah.
using that access.
So that's good news. Just want to comment, I attended for the first time the veterans event that was at the middle school this last week and was just truly blown away. There was the fact that those students own that presentation and do it and speak in front of all their peers, and, you had a young woman who wrote a song and sang it, was amazing. So yeah, it was quite the turnout, quite the event, and would encourage individuals to attend next year, just if you haven't ever done, because I didn't really know what to expect, but it'd be my expectations, just because
And they're so well behaved at first.
Yep.
Middle school kids, I remember I wasn't probably the best one, but they do a really nice job, and they really are. No, it's always, yeah, I really enjoy going to that one. It's rare that I don't know that I've missed one since I've been the mayor, once I found out about them,
Yeah, pretty good.
so.
I had just a reminder, there's a coat and winter clothes drive at the community center that actually ends on the 22nd, so you can donate clothes. It's definitely been a reminder as our cold weather has hit us a little earlier than,
Is that new clothing or
Typical.
used? Do you know?
I do not know.
Somewhat new and some aren't.
I think it's like gently used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Pocket-wearing jacket.
they wouldn't want something that I wear.
And then the last thing I had was just looking for some clarification, because it's come up in my neighborhood particular, and I know they're following the rules and everything like that, but what is, like, the hunting guidelines? I live right on the edge of town, so you get this rural versus city, definitely hear I literally thought someone was door knocking me and running away on Sunday, but it was gunshots in the field, and I went to the door several times trying to figure out who it was.
Oh, man.
And then realized it was the gunshots in the field. 'Cause it literally sounded like someone knocking on my door.
You could be like an advertisement for a
So I was just
red
kind of
doorbell.
curious, like, what is the regulation? I know they're outside the city limits.
No.
There's,
They are inside the city limits. There is bow hunting that's allowed in the northern portion of Chaska by the Arboretum. And in the southwest Chaska, there's bow hunting plus some limited gun hunting, but there's a whole set of criteria that goes into where they can be.
They have to be permitted to hunt.
Yeah, they have to be
Yeah.
permitted.
Yeah, they come through the city to get permitted.
so the field right across from me
Yes,
would be okay.
I think so, yes.
Which is, like I said, but it spurred conversation in the
They did
neighborhood.
very well.
What's that?
They did very well.
Well, my son was watching. I was like, oh, there goes some birds. They're falling down.
So are you talking where the new school will be?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right in that field there. I think it's the farmer,
Our city
actually.
engineer was out looking at the road when that was going on.
Yeah,
He was telling me
I
about
hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it spurred conversation because it was, like I said, it was obviously loud that I thought someone was knocking at my door. So I was just kind of curious, and
There's a permitting process for both. And to make sure that they've got the owner's permission if they're not the owner, and that they're where they're supposed to be.
yeah, it was good. Like I said, it just spurred a healthy conversation in the neighborhood because you're just fighting the edge of the city kind of stuff going on there.
It's slowly getting smaller as all those areas plat and things happen.
So that's all I had.
Okay. Sir?
Okay, just want to mention that, thank you to everyone who came out to vote for the referendum and doing your homework out there. It's not the way that I would have wanted it to turn out in terms of referendum, but, it's, the voters have cast their ballots for this year. I think this is our first meeting since the referendum happened, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, so, yeah,
Oh, really?
yep, because it was actually the day after our last one, yep. Yep. But on a happier note, congratulations to Chaska Hawk football team for making it to the state championships, which is awesome. So that'll be at the US Bank Stadium on Saturday, November 30th at 4 p.m. So
yeah, apparently tickets are already going on sale, because,
Yeah, they do, but they're not gonna run out of time.
I suppose.
I'll buy like 20 of them.
How do you know?
Good problem to have. But I had that as well, and I really do, because this is the first time that they've ever made it to the state championship in football.
Yeah.
So this is really a big,
Exciting.
and the other thing is they really, really have a strong chance of winning this whole thing.
They beat St. Thomas Academy earlier this year,
And they
21-0.
are-
Yeah, that was the only defeat for them.
But that's the scary part when you play them the second
Yeah,
start. You
yeah.
never want to, they know, the hands have been laid out now, so you
Yeah,
don't
that's true.
know.
Now could be
But,
payback.
no, I want to echo that same thing as Ozzy brought it up. Congratulations to the football team, and it's exciting, because I've been around it. I played for Chaska football, my son played for Chaska football. You've waited for this day, and it's here.
Yeah.
So it is a pretty big deal for Chaska athletics to take a football team to
They had
this
12,
level.
12 student buses that they took down to
13.
the.
I heard 13. yeah.
13,
Yeah.
down to the stadium. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's a lot, so.
Yeah.
They have enough
Cool.
tickets for that, Matt?
I'm not saying anything else.
Couldn't help myself.
All right, sorry, you go back now.
Oh, great stuff. So on Saturday night, His House Foundation had their sleep out in Fireman's Park. And so,
I went and,
Yeah.
did you go?
yeah, I went, I didn't sleep out.
No, me neither.
No, my 8-year-old was very disappointed when we got there and he realized we weren't sleeping out there.
Same thing with my 4-year-old.
Some alligator tears happened when he
Oh,
realized
not
we're
that bad.
not actually going to sleep out there, so, it
Why
was.
didn't you sleep out there?
Because it's not California.
Point.
I'm not a really good camper. So, but it
Was it a
did,
good turnout? I mean.
you know, it was about 40 people or so at the earlier part of the
I-
event, and then the,
Yeah,
yeah.
I got there early, like,
Yeah.
they were starting to register, and there were only like maybe 5. And I asked her how many tents, and she said that was probably only gonna be like 6 or 7.
Yes.
But she said that a lot of people had donated, and you got to learn a little bit more about His House Foundation, which was great, so.
Yeah, and, you know, it was good to, you know, give some encouragement as, you know, as kind of the night was kind of getting late there. And it was, you know, getting a little chillier, and they had to be out at like 7 in the morning, I think, too, so it's kind of an early.
I felt bad, because
Yeah.
Don't wanna
the
be
geese looked
inconvenienced.
like they just parked on that lawn like a day before. I give those people a lot of credit for sleeping on the ground in a tent. I'm hoping there was like a tarp between.
Yeah,
I think I'd want to be out by 7
I'm-
a.m.
so it's for the first time they're doing this event. It was, you know, it's a pretty decent turnout, but I think, you know, they like to have, like, you know, grow this event bigger and keep growing it. So, you know, I think they're shooting for like 100. So, you know, I think it's one of those things that as they start building up, it's a good thing to see them in the community, and, you know, certainly we'll go out there and maybe we'll see if we can, you know, go camp next time. So,
I told you, I got a bunch of tents, I'll lend you one.
well, then you'd have to come camping too.
Yeah.
I think
We'd have to post an open meeting notice too.
I think the neat thing is it sounds like their foundation kind of focuses on the reserve for the gap, like, you know, in order to kind of help fund that for people in need. So this seemed like a nice need to fill, you know, in between, so.
Yes. So it was a good conversation, interesting challenges that they're trying to help people with. So upcoming stuff, and actually ongoing right now, Chaska High School Theater has performances of The Drowsy Chaperone. So if you can go, they have performances Wednesday at 4, there's a sensory-friendly show. And then there's some shows on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. at Chaska High School. So my shameless plug is my daughter's in the ensemble, so. But it's, you know, I've seen the show twice already. It's a really good show. They do a fantastic job. And, you know, as always, I said this before, is that, you know, it's just amazing what sort of talent they have in the schools there. You know, it's just, to see them out there performing. There's some just really talented kids, both in the orchestra, on stage, doing the lighting, costumes, all that stuff. I mean, they put together the whole show, so it's just a great group. So, you know, go out there and support them, and, you know, just enjoy a really good show. Let's see, and then I think, was it December 1st is at 6 p.m. is that Fireman's Park tree lighting, which is coming up.
Yep.
So that'll be coming up just right outside the event center there. And we have December 5th from 6 to 9, there's the Marnita's Table event, which I think we've been talking about. So that'll be exciting, so certainly wanted to, you know, just mention that again too. So I think everyone already knows about that. And of course, December 6th, Santa's going to visit the community center, is what I hear. So, you know, here Santa makes his usual stop from the North Pole. So, important stuff for the kids, right?
Very much so.
For the kids.
And,
More from
and the kids at heart.
Councilmember Hatfield over here as well.
Yep,
Good?
yep, so that's all I got.
I also had the privilege of attending the Veterans Ceremony this past Monday. It was a wonderful experience. I was blown away like Councilmember Gra and just all the choirs and the bands, and even, you know, the young lady that had written her own song, and it was just so amazing. And then even just the audio-visual team that were working
new
the
this year.
sound.
I was new this year.
And the kids were so invested in it. And then I had the opportunity to speak to one of the, a service member, and I found out that his wife, who used to be a teacher, was the person that had started that years ago, and she had just recently passed away. So it was really a privilege to meet him and to find out that they really want to grow it. He was hoping that they could even broadcast it, you know, overseas next year. So just amazing event.
Michael, are you up for that?
So.
Do it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, they had a little refreshment thing, and then it gave me an opportunity to talk with my son about what it's like to be a veteran, the branches of the military. So a very educational experience.
Did they have, they always do some sort of program over their school TV in the Commons or in the?
They did, yeah.
I couldn't stay, I had a funeral to go to, so I couldn't stay.
Yeah, no, they did. They had, it looked like,
Okay.
and they had a Q&A, and the kids were all lined up as I was getting ready to
Yep.
leave with their questions, and they were very excited. So it was just a wonderful event, just such a great day for that. I attended the last race, The Power of Illusion, or is that what that's
Yep.
called?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, under the weather. What a great series. The videos are fascinating, but honestly, my biggest takeaway from that event was the community dialogue. It was so engaging to listen to other people's perspectives, have, you know, difficult conversations in a good way, and kind of just be able to kind of listen to other people and their perspectives. So I know you, Matt, had attended the last one, so, but that was wonderful. So, fortunately, I can't attend the Marnita's Table event. I get to go visit Santa as well that night. But that will be a wonderful, I think, event, just in kind of in the same theme as the other.
We're getting a good number of RSVPs for that already, which is good to see.
Now, are we covered because of open meeting law?
We'll make sure to post something.
Make sure that we cover
Yeah.
that. Because I think we'll have a quorum there. You're going,
I'm good.
you're going? Okay, no, I'm just putting it on it. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I think that's it. I just had one question. You're doing the state, I don't know if you're gonna address this in your thing, but is that something that gets televised or anything like that? I'd love to hear the other mayors speak on
I
this
think,
too.
yeah. I
Mike, you're
think-
gonna film that again?
Yep.
Yes, I'm gonna,
Okay, I have a
and it
conflict.
won't fail this time.
All right,
No doubt in my mind you won't.
I'll be watching. No, just kidding. Okay, that's it.
I think one big thing coming up is Hometown Holiday and Small Business Saturday on the 30th of November. It's the day before the tree lighting. Wait, there's a tree lighting that day too, though.
Yep.
Yeah, the City Square Park lighting, tree lighting is that day.
That's also when the new Santa sleigh and reindeer get
Yes,
lit up.
yep.
So That's the next 100 Club acquisition.
Right, so that's gonna be exciting, a good Instagram spot to hashtag Chaska.
That's what I was thinking.
An
Right?
influencer.
And so yeah, Small Business Saturday and Hometown Holidays on the same day, so that's kind of cool. I think a lot of the shops are open this coming weekend, but definitely that day there's tons to do. There's like extra stuff to do, like crafts, and there's like Auburn Manor has something, sometimes the Moravian Church has something. The Legion has their big annual fundraiser, the auxiliaries. So lots to do, so definitely come down for that. And then the next Saturday, which we'll have a meeting before that, but I'll just mention it, is gonna be Shop and Sip and Shop. Which one is it?
Sip and shop, I believe.
So, and that's like hot chocolate coffee sipping. It's earlier in the day, so not,
Another shopping event downtown.
Right, so definitely come out for that. But yeah, lots of shopping downtown. And I think that was the one thing I wanted to mention. Oh, you know what? The other thing, so the downtown street paving, I saw on the biweekly that that's happening probably this coming week. And then, one resident mentioned, I think there's a schedule for this, but there was just a lot of extra traffic on Sixth and Maple. So by where that park used to be. Does that get taken into consideration at all? And when like, it's just holy over there right now? Just because I think it had so much extra, that's everybody cut through.
So over by the fireman's
Right.
tree park that the school wants to sell.
Where people,
So people were going making that loop around there where it's closed by. behind
Yeah,
Auburn
so
there.
that was like
oh,
the
They were
quickest way.
using that as a detour.
oh,
Guilty.
so trying
So you're
to,
saying.
trying to
Yeah,
spread
so
it
like
out?
Sixth and Maple and like, most people didn't go up and go down that beach hill, but it just got really rough from everybody using it. Cause everyone went through that Auburn Manor parking lot and then down. And
So you're
then,
talking about when the road was actually closed.
right, when there was all the closures, yeah, people were cutting there and I guess, well, not I guess, I've seen it. There's just, did get a lot of use.
Okay.
So,
I can talk to him about the paving, because it is happening, it should happen this week, so.
Okay. that was the only thing I had.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Nate?
On everything.
Kevin?
I'm good.
Luke? Pat?
Nope.
Okay, I got a few things. I just want to comment that if people haven't noticed, we, the city, bought all new American flags, and they really just popped on Veterans Day, and they were out one other holiday before, and I'm trying to think what that would have been, Labor Day maybe. I don't know, but if you haven't noticed it, when you go by, I think that the flags are really starting to get a little tattered and less colorful, but they really seem to pop and stand out, so that was really, really nice to see. And we talked about Chaska football, but I saw the new AT&T building already has Go Hawks on it. That reminds me of the good old days when we played basketball and all the shops would close and put all that on there. And that's still that feel of that small town to see somebody, that business, I'm not even sure is open yet.
Yeah.
But I saw her out there today writing on the glass. You really, if I didn't see her writing on it, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. So it's a little, but the fact that they did it, I think is pretty cool. And then we did talk a little bit, this year, we're gonna have all new Christmas decorations on the pole, and we're gonna have a new sleigh and reindeer in the park, and that will actually be the lighting, I believe, Saturday night, instead of the tree, or both
Well, both.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
So that'll be exciting to see some new things, and again,
So those wreaths that are on the light posts
the light
were
poles.
pretty shot, so.
yeah, you could hardly even see them, they were so dull. And
So the 100 Club actually got those, but then we're able to use rebate dollars through our electric utility, because they're all LED bulbs, and use that to replace all the wreaths going through town. I think it'll actually look as good in the daytime now, because they were getting really shabby in the daytime.
And that's one of the things that I just want to touch on is there's a club here, it's called the Chaska 100 Club, and it's a nonprofit, right?
Yep.
And there's where all the money is raised to purchase those decorations, or not use taxpayer dollars on that. So I think that's a uniqueness that we have again. Again, I think a little piece of small town that does things like that. So thank you to the 100 Club and all the donators. There's a function of that just prior to the tree lighting. We come out of that function and go to the tree lighting. And what I want to mention that night on the Sunday night tree lighting at Fireman's Park is, it's really a family event, because then afterwards there are all kinds of events for kids to do crafts and things. But
Santa's at that one, too.
Santa is there, and there's picture taking in front of the fireplace. So there's a lot really going on that
He's a pretty impressive Santa, too.
yes.
He's
Well,
really cool.
Santa.
Santa is.
I mean, he's, yeah,
Santa's always impressive.
Take your kids out of the room.
And the hometown holidays, I do want to
Five
talk
seconds
about on
delay.
Saturday. There's all kinds of youth activity, kids' activities in the park all day long. Hot chocolate, cookies. There's, I assume we're having the sleigh rides again? The horse rides?
Yes, the
Carriage rides?
carriage rides, yeah.
So we'll have a carriage ride,
Santa,
Yep.
Reindeer?
Santa and the elf will be there. There's
Live nativity.
there's reindeer.
Shrimp House Brewery.
There's reindeer in the park.
Yep.
And then right after the
Bonfire.
the lighting, yeah, the fire department has a little bonfire going, but after the lighting, St. John's has their live nativity. So you can just march down there, they go to Auburn Manor, they carol the seniors, and then they do the live nativity. I don't know where they're gonna do it though, unless we're gonna get that parking lot all cleaned up. But
think they
that's
could
where all
still
the
do it
dirt,
right there.
that's where all the dirt storage is from their project right now, but they'll figure it out. I'm sure they've already worked on it. So really those 2 nights, Saturday or all day Saturday and Sunday night, is really a lot of fun, so there's a lot of things to do. I gotta check off my list here. County Road 61 to Eden Prairie, I heard is gonna open up the week of the 25th.
Yeah.
I think that will change some traffic patterns as well.
Long time coming.
That is a major road, and it'll be another happy day when that one opens up. The County Road 44, 212 opened on actually late Friday, or mid-afternoon Friday, so that will be another real, what do I want to say? It's going to help that southwest Chaska area grow, and as we talked about earlier about industrial parks. We talked a little bit about Wednesday is the mayor's luncheon, where the 4 mayors come and speak. I have a commitment with the Met Council and the TAB, so Councilmember Wong is going to be doing the presentation that day for myself, so thank you, Mike, for doing that, I appreciate that. But we talked about it, and we've got a big vote on transportation changes, and we felt it was important, rather than sending Mike there as my alternate, not really knowing what's going on. It's tough enough for me to follow it, and I try to get to the meetings, and I've been reading that packet for the last 2 days already, so, but anyway, so Mike will actually be doing that, and it won't be me, so, like I say again, thanks, that's done. Tree lighting. That's about it, other than, I really want to wish everyone a very, very happy and blessed Thanksgiving coming up. That will be a week from Thursday. It's really late this year.
Yeah.
It's really awkward.
Yeah.
And so make sure you start your Christmas shopping early, because if you wait till after Thanksgiving, you're gonna be short a week. So with that, last call, otherwise I'd entertain a motion.
Oh,
To adjourn, anyone? You wanna go home?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Council. You guys are fast. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. We're adjourned. We'll see you December 3rd, 2nd?
Maybe next meeting we'll get to make some motions.